I'm Philip Flory. Well, what a week. Certainly a hot week here in the UK, which has affected absolute everything, to be honest, because not only does it affect your airbrushing, it affects your finish and everything else like that, and it's a bit unbearable when you're underneath sort of, 2,500 watts of lights or that equivalent of, you do tend to sweat a bit, shall we say. So whilst it was very nice in the States being over 100 degrees every day, no humidity, no sweat, quite nice, everything's nice and warm. Back here in the UK, 80% humidity, sweating like the proverbial, trying to do all this and to camera was not easy at all. A couple of things I want to mention. Obviously when you're doing airbrushing, temperature is absolutely everything, and ambient temperature, or the temperature you're actually spraying in, affects your paintwork quite a lot, which is something I thought I'll cover a little bit this week, purely because if you're watching, obviously I think it's part 4 now, 3 and 4, which is of the F117 build here. Obviously we needed to put down lots of primer because we're trying to soften out, not destroy, but soften out totally the actual panel lines on this, okay? So the thing is, I painted this one 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We were well over 100, I think, here in the UK, okay, but certainly in the 90s. And as you can hear, it is completely rough as hell. Now, the trouble with that is, when you're airbrushing, you basically pull the trigger, it gets atomized. And when we're talking atomized, we are talking millimeter, tiny little particles, okay, which obviously don't take long to dry. So consequently, there they are, flying through the air. By the time you get to your model, they're dry, okay? They hit the surface, they're dry. They basically go on like a sandpaper effect. So when you're spraying these on, literally they're hitting it and they just build up. And then you end up with something like this. Now, unfortunately, I haven't got the other cameras running today because they're all over in the spray bay. We've got 2 other HD cameras now, we've got 3 in total. Okay, but if you watch the videos on this, I'll explain it fully. Probably it'll be the next part next week now for the F117. But certainly, as you can hear, it's really rough. Now, so getting around the problem, okay, spray later on in the day or earlier in the day, avoid, evenings, things like that, just avoid the hottest part of the day. The other things you can do, retarders, okay, retarders, what these actually do, they're just a chemical that you add to your paint, like a thinner, okay, it slows down the drying time. The only trouble with that is it makes it extremely wet, which makes it more prone even to runs. Okay, this is the trouble we had here, which is my excuse for why you're only going to get probably a 15 to 20 minute part on doing the Phantom instead of this normal half hour this week. The trouble with it is, whilst it is gorgeously smooth and it's filled everything and it's beautiful, as you can probably hear the difference, nice and smooth, rough as hell. Okay, this was sprayed slightly later on in the day, or to be honest with this one, it was sprayed very early in the day, 7 o'clock this morning to be honest. Okay, it's still a little bit more wet than normally I'm used to, so we ended up with runs. Okay, I know what you're thinking, no problem Phil, sand them off, wipe them down, start again as I show you in all the other videos. Can't do that when you're using this type of primer that I'm using. This is the Surface Primer by Vallejo. Now this is the polyurethane thing. Drawback to this particular one is, whilst it's great, gives you a lovely silky smooth finish, covers everything, beautiful, love it for little tiny gap capabilities, i.e. what we're trying to do with the F117 here is to kill off those panel lines a bit. You can't sand it straight away. Now if it's any other type of primer I've used, I would just come along and I would have done exactly as we were just saying, sanded it off, blown it back in, job's done, finished in a couple of minutes. This stuff, as we know, if I try and sand this, it's going to peel up and it's going to roll, and I won't be able to sand it in and then blow it in. It's going to leave a texture. So what we have to do now is leave this one for literally 48, 72 hours for it totally to cure, then I can sand it. That's the trouble now, because I've now got to wait 3 days before I can get near this. I must admit, in this weather, leave it out in the sun, I'll probably be able to do it a lot quicker. But certainly, it works well, don't get me wrong, it's just that when you're in this situation, it's a bit of a pain that you actually have to wait with it and everything else. But that said, part 5 is up now, which talks about doing the black work, doing what we were saying down here and everything else like that. Apologies for the camera angles of it. As we know, I've got this big door here, patio doors on here, and the trouble is the sun is right on the other side of it, so I had to adjust all the white balances and everything else like that during filming. So in some ways the one camera to me isn't very nice, hence why it got dropped in one of the parts of that particular build. But anyway, it is there, we are getting on. The Hawk itself is taking a little bit of a backseat whilst we were getting these in here, but certainly being there now. It's all together, everything else So we're all ready to go. We're going to be talking about this one very, very soon. Probably next week I'll start on it, where we talk about preparing it from this stage now, preparing the plastic, making sure it's nice and smooth, because obviously this one's going to be totally glossed versus dead flat and weathered. Okay, so we're going to be talking about doing mirror gloss finishes with this by going through things like preparation of the plastic, preparation of the primer, polishing the actual black as this goes on, because this is going to be glossed black. I know, but you set yourselves up to these things, okay? And then obviously for decaling, and then after decaling we're going to be talking about lacquers to give us that real deep, gorgeous sort of gloss look to it. Also this week, probably see in front of me, I sent out for some orders this week, okay? So we've got acrylic rod, again, good old eBay, you can't beat it, just go in there, acrylic rod. I've got a couple of widths here, which I can't remember off the top of my head. I've got a 15mm, a 14, a 13 and a 12mm, okay? Now, we know the one that goes up here, I think it's a 13mm, fits an absolute treat, just in the back like this. What we're going to do is also, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be showing you how to make stands using acrylic rod and also using brass rod. I've got different types of brass rod here. Acrylic rod, you might have seen, I've got my favourite over there, the Tomcat. We did it with the heat shimmers coming through it. Okay, we're going to be talking about bending it, how to bend it without it going wrong, painting it, glossing it and everything, and then obviously inserting it into your model. Now if you're doing something like a single engine one like this, it's dead easy because it just goes up the back, and then what we can do is curve this shape nicely down into a wooden stand and have it as in a nice in-flight display. And then obviously this particular one, you could literally roll it into any angle you wanted to do it, but if you didn't, you could obviously pack it out, glue it into position and everything else. The other thing is obviously our friend the Phantom here is going to be in flight as well. So hence we've got our bolt in here. We've got a couple of options. Went on to eBay, to be honest it's quite cheap, okay, and I found a company who make this. Now we've all heard of Albion alloys, they do the really thin stuff. This is the really big stuff. So we've got here, this is 15mm, but if you look, they're all telescopic inside each other and they fit with no movement whatsoever inside each other. So I think that's 15, and then we've got 14, because they're all about 1/2 mil in diameter here. You can get these all out, but we've got another one stuck in between here. There we go. So as you can see, they all come out from inside each other, and some of them are such a good fit you can hardly see them. If we can get him out, it would be lovely. There we go. But as you can see, all these different sizes. The only trouble with the size they didn't have was 14.5mm, which they do, but they're out of stock. But what we were talking about is obviously we can have a situation here where if we wanted to, we could glue or set into it into the brass rod, bend it, shape it, whatever you wanted to, or just stroll it, you know, as is. And then what we could actually do is crimp that slightly into position so it's got a screw both ends of it, polish it nicely up, and then it can sit into wood, and then like this way be screwed into the bottom. They do a 14.5mm of this. It's called a thin wall one, okay, where they're only 2.5mm thick. Okay, but again, it's a choice. We've also got down here another little thing we'll be playing with. These are solid brass rods, okay, absolutely lovely. We were thinking about maybe drill a hole, self-tap, screw these in, and then these screw into the base. Okay, they are very heavy, but because it's heavy, it makes it very, very impressive, and you don't run the risk of your model blowing over because you put a little bit of weight in the bottom, okay, of the base. And with these solid brass ones, these models are not going to go absolutely anywhere. So that's the thing. We'll be talking about those probably either next week or the week after. Next week's a little bit busy because obviously we're at RIAT Thursday and Friday with the team. We're going to be up there having a look at some aircraft, if any turn up at all, because it's a bit thin on the ground, because the US aren't sending anything at all, which is quite odd, seeing as it's almost American now. So there might be tumbleweed going down the runway and things. Apparently there's not many tornadoes around either, so it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with the Airshow circuit this year. It's the only one I'm going to be doing. To be honest, tomorrow, Saturday, I'm at RF Odeum. It's family day. It's been invited up there. Thank you by Chris. Lovely Chris has invited us up. I'll be seeing Larry from the site and everything else up there. So we're hoping to have a lovely day up there. I might even take my camera along. We'll get some photos and various things from that and everything else. Big news is obviously the site. Now, I know a lot of you panicked about the news show and everything else, and I wanted it to be more like this, where I can talk about everything that's gone on and explain things a little bit more in detail when I don't get the chance when I'm doing the actual builds themselves. Okay, so it's sort of, I can recap on things. Then we sort of got carried away and started making TV programs. Trouble with that is, as I say, it took 2 days a week to do that, and it took me away from the bench. I wanted to get back to the bench because I've got all these great builds and I've got this massive stash behind me and I've got all this inspiration to build them all. I don't have any time, because by the time we've done wash on Mondays, we've done emails, orders and everything else, I was basically just left with 2 days a week to actually build. And everybody who knows now, because a lot of you do YouTube and things like that, editing takes forever. Especially when you've got 3 HD cameras and another camera that runs backup and an audio track to do, get them all in sync and then try and edit them all around, can take a little bit of time. So that's what I wanted to do, was get back. So now we have the new Today page. Instead of having news on the main site, we have Today. Now it's one of those things, I've had great feedback from probably 90% of people who get the idea of it and think it's absolutely lovely. A few things need to explain with it. First of all, when you're looking down it like this, okay, the big thing is, when you're looking at it, you'll get these little tabs at the bottom, okay? What's going to happen over time? They're going to evolve into being the main core of the site itself. So perhaps you want to look at Tamiya, okay? You click on the Tamiya tab. Anything to do with Tamiya that we've mentioned on the site as of this week will show up, and you can quite easily click on the little things. You'll be able to enter up categories. So perhaps you want to look at photo builds of Tamiya. You'll be able to click on those particular tabs, okay? So you go Tamiya photo builds, it will come up any photo build on the site that has got a Tamiya, photo build in it. You can do by scale, because obviously they're tagged with scales now. So it'll be like 148, for instance. You can do it like that. So what will happen is, as I add information to this, which to be honest only started last week, and it will only carry on now. I'm not going to go back through the site and add everything to it, because I really will have no time for building. But certainly from now on, everything will be tagged, categorized, and everything else. So you as members can just literally hit a blue button and it will take you there. You'll be able to search a lot more intuitively now, because this way will show you everything you actually need to know. So literally at a click of a button, you'll have everything right there, because it is the trouble when you're doing those great news shows, which I know everybody fell in love with and they're absolutely great. There's no way of actually categorizing them and going through, because then you might have to watch an entire hour to get to 10 minutes at the end that you might be interested in and things like that. This way, because everything's going to be done in little subsections, okay, you'll be able to click on it and go straight to it. Now, to be honest, obviously I only came back from the US last week, so I haven't got any actually kits to review because I didn't buy anything in for 2 weeks and everything else. I have got stuff on order. It should start coming in next week. And then obviously what will happen is, as soon as a kit drops through my door, for instance, I will literally sit down here, we'll do a full inbox review of it, talk about it. I might even put one together if it's a quick kit, just to see how it looks, everything else like that. It will then go live that day straight on the site. So it doesn't matter if it's a Monday, a Sunday, whatever, it will appear on there on that day. There will be something up on that page every single weekday, Monday to Fridays of the week, for you to see. So obviously it may be a quick tip. So I might talk about, I don't know, painting with primers, okay? I might have a problem with my airbrush, so I might video it, and it might be just a 2-minute thing, but I think that's probably worth it. It will go onto this page, it will be categorized under perhaps airbrush problems. You click that, it will become part of it, so you can actually go through, and as this happens, hopefully, you know, over time, let's face it, the site's been going 10 years now, and it's pretty huge, but if we can keep this going for the next couple of years, it will become a fantastic resource that literally at a click of a button, you've got it right there, and you can move through with it. So that is the idea of the new page. It's pretty straightforward, it's pretty clickable. You can, as members, post, comment, whatever you want to do on it. You can share it, just click the share button. You can put it onto your pages, on your social networking, through Twitter, Facebook, and all the others it lists, which is quite a few on there. So it is really, really interactive with everybody who's a member. If you're a non-member, obviously you can see a lot of this stuff, but unfortunately as non-members, some of it is going to be behind the fence, so to speak. So you're not going to be able to see perhaps these little quick videos that I do, because they are going to be on the site server, which isn't like the freebie junk like YouTube and things like that. So anyway, so that'll be it. We'll be a lot more concise, a lot more punchy, a lot more up to date. come these shows at the end of the week, I can talk about what happened during the week and we can move on. So for instance, Monday we had Dave did the LEDs, a short update, talk about the actual the road sig we've got going on at the moment and everything else. Great work by him. He's still getting there, so bear with him. Being in front of the camera, I know I make it look stunningly easy and everything else, but unfortunately, as a lot of you know, it is terrifying to start with. Okay, so there you go. But as I said, it's great. He's using this camera, he's getting lots of good detail, he's talking about what he's doing with these things, and as his builds move through, he's going to be doing little updates on those as well to go along with his photo builds and everything else like that. Team guys, the team, obviously you've seen their builds up there at the moment. I know they're in the forum, but there are going to be some standalone ones that will be in there and they'll go into the forum as well. So again, you can catch up with all the news and gossip from the team guys as they want it. It will go out onto the main site and it can be pushed through. As members yourselves, if you see anything you think everybody should know about, let me know. We'll get it out onto the main site as well. So perhaps, you know, you're building something, you've got a review of something, whatever, let me know. We can get it onto this social thing and we can get it out for the world to see on the free bit. And that's basically how it's going to work. So for me, what am I planning on? Okay, F117, we're going to get these painted and the actual Phantom next week, Monday to Wednesday. I'm here, going to get those painted, probably maybe into decaling as well, which will get us some up next week, and then we can move through. After that, we're going to be cracking on with the Hawk, okay, pushing through heavily with that. After that, everyone keeps asking me, yes, it starts after this. We will be doing the Merkava, moving right the way through that. For all the ones I am doing the actual, it's the Mark 3D, okay? It's the Hobby Boss kit. I know there are other people out there now that seem to do it. It seems to be quite an easy to do kit. And at the same time with that, we will be starting on this beast as well, which is a complete beast. And I know lots of people have been asking why haven't it started it yet. Trust me, if you can see down here, I've got 3 boxes of sprues and everything else on the go. As you know, I video down there and over there in the spray bay. So all down this side is all the boxes for all of this stuff. So I need to get them out of the way because what I'm going to do is build the ship on this half of the bench and then the tank and aircraft on this side of the bench. Back here, I'll be doing my reviews and all the bits and pieces for you guys during the week and everything else like that. And it clears the spray bay. And I don't know I'm going to paint that yet because it's not going to fit in the spray bay. I might have to bring the booth over here. Don't know. I have to work about that one. Anyway, bear with me on certain camera angles as well. These new ones, they'll be having brand new camera angles. As I say, we're running 3 HD cameras now, all shooting in 1920 by 1080p, which is a huge amount of data for my computer to crunch on, which is slowing down a little bit now, and it's got 4 HD feeds going through and an audio feed, but it is getting there, and I think it's getting even better. We've got better camera angles. You never miss anything now and everything else. So certainly, if you're wondering what we get up to here in Flooring Models, there's going to be a little taster about the Phantom build. Okay, and that's just using 3 cameras. It doesn't even include the 4th head cam, as I call it at the moment. And I was even experimenting putting the GoPro on my arm when I was spraying, which was a little odd to see and made you feel a little bit queasy, so I don't think we'll stay with that one. But anyway, it just shows we are experimenting and trying to bring you absolutely everything we can every single week. So anyway, that's about it for me this week. Next week we start in earnest. Hopefully, as I say, I'm away for 2 days of it because we're at RIA. If there's anything interesting, I'll show you. If there's not, I won't, okay? But certainly I'll be putting up some pictures, I think, from Odium, which we're at tomorrow. But then during next week, we'll have these builds will be appearing as the week goes through. The team guys, their stuff will be up there, and if the kits come in review, I will get them reviewed out to you, and so you can see them straight away here on Flooring Models. So until next week, everybody, happy modelling and take care.